All right, let's dive into a problem that, trust me, every single Next.js developer hits sooner or later: connecting to a database. We're going to be looking at the powerhouse combo of Next.js and MongoDB. Now, on the surface, it seems super simple, right? But there's this hidden little trap in the development process that can bring your entire app to a screeching halt. So today, we're going to expose that trap and show you exactly how to dodge it. So let's start with the big question. Picture this. You're in the zone, coding away, everything feels like it's working perfectly, and then bam, you're locked out of your database. You've hit your connection limit. How in the world did that happen? Well, it's a really sneaky problem. And the crazy part is, it's caused by a feature that's actually designed to make your life easier. And the culprit? Oh, it's a feature we all know and love: hot reloading. You know, every time you hit save in Next.js, your code gets reevaluated so you can see your changes instantly. But that front-end convenience, it can turn into a total back-end nightmare. If you're not careful, every single save doesn't just refresh your page. It can kick off what I like to call a connection storm on your database. Okay, let's put a number on this: 500. That's the hard limit for connections on MongoDB Atlas's free tier. Now, you might be thinking, 500? That sounds like a lot. But trust me, during a busy coding session, you can absolutely burn through all 500 of those without even noticing. A few dozen file saves and your app just grinds to a halt. So here's what's actually happening under the hood. Each time you save, a module gets reloaded. And if your database connection logic lives in that module, it just runs again and again and again. Every single time it opens a brand new connection and doesn't bother to close the old one. It's kind of like you're launching a denial of service attack on yourself. All right, enough about the problem, right? Let's talk about the solution. And it's not just one magic bullet. It's a trio of technologies that, when you use them together the right way, create an absolutely rock-solid data layer for your Next.js app. First up in our trio is MongoDB. The best way to think about it is like a super flexible digital filing cabinet. Instead of rigid tables and rows, it stores your data in documents that look almost exactly like the JSON you're already writing. It makes it a completely natural fit for any JavaScript project. Next, we've got MongoDB Atlas. So if MongoDB is the filing cabinet, Atlas is your personal database butler. It's the service that handles all the annoying, complex stuff like scaling, backups, and security, so you can just focus on what you want to do, which is write code. And its free tier is amazing for getting a new project up and running. And to round out our team, we have Mongoose. See, MongoDB's flexibility is awesome, but sometimes you need some rules, a little bit of structure. Mongoose acts like a contract for your data. It lets you define a strict schema right in your application, which guarantees that the data going into your database is always in the exact shape you expect. And this slide really shows you the core difference. On the left, with MongoDB, the data model looks just like the objects in your code. It's seamless. On the right, with a traditional SQL database, you're always having to translate your code's objects into tables and rows. For a framework like Next.js, the document model just involves way less mental gymnastics. Okay, so we've got our tools, but how do we actually use them to stop that connection storm? Well, this right here is the secret sauce. It's a programming pattern called the singleton, and it is absolutely essential for building a stable Next.js app. And you know what? The logic is surprisingly simple. Before you ever try to connect, your code asks one simple question. Hey, do we already have a connection? If the answer is yes, great, we'll just reuse that one. If the answer is no, then we'll create a new one, and this is the most important part. We cache it, so the next time our code asks, the answer will be yes. So how does this little trick beat hot reloading? Well, in development, we can store our database connection on a global object. This object isn't part of the code that gets reloaded every time you hit save, so it just persists. Your code finds that same existing connection every single time instead of making a new one. And just like that, problem solved. But here's the thing. Getting this connection right isn't just about preventing errors. It actually unlocks one of the most powerful and, I think, magical features in modern Next.js: server components. This is where things get really cool. This right here, this is a total paradigm shift. Think about the old way. Your front end had to make an API call to a separate backend, which then talked to the database. It was a whole process. With server components, all of that just collapses into one. Your component is your data layer. Just stop and think about what that means. Your React component can literally import your Mongoose model, run an await query to find some posts, and then render the result directly. There's no separate API route to build, no messy use effect hooks for fetching data, no client-side loading states. It's just the cleanest, most direct path from your database to the user screen. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground. We've seen the problem, we've met our tools, we learned the secret pattern, and we saw the incredible payoff. So let's wrap all this up into a clear, actionable playbook that you can take and use in your own projects right away. Here are 4 essential best practices. First, use .lean on your Mongoose queries whenever you're just reading data. It's way faster because it gives you plain old JavaScript objects. Second, cache your Mongoose models for the exact same reason you cache your connection. It stops Next.js from throwing errors when it tries to recompile them on every hot reload. Third, and this is non-negotiable, your database connection string is a secret. Keep it in a .env.local file and never ever commit it to Git. And finally, that singleton pattern we talked about, it's not just a trick for development, it's absolutely crucial in production to make sure your serverless functions are efficient. And I want to leave you with this final thought to chew on. This whole architecture just completely blurs the lines between front-end and back-end. I mean, if your component can securely talk directly to your database, what does a back-end even mean anymore? The traditional definitions are starting to break down, and it really makes you wonder what the future of building for the web is going to look like. Pretty exciting stuff to think about.